You okay, Mr. Litter, with that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
And I apologize, I might not be able to close my eyes fully, I got temporary contacts in. So if I don't close my eyes fully, that's why.
Okay.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put them in the starting position and I'll tell them feet together, hands down by their sides like so. And I'll tell them when I tell you to begin, so what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, tilt your head backwards, and I want you to think to the number 30. Once you think you got to the number 30, I want you to open your eyes, tilt your head forward, and say done.
Okay? And she complied with that test?
Yes, sir, she did.
And did she think to the number 30? How long did it take her to think or get to 30 in her mind?
So on the paper, I put 19 seconds. So it took her, I used my stopwatch, and she thought to the number 30 in 19 seconds. If that makes sense, I can try to clarify it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when she opened her eyes and tilted her head forward and said that she was done, my stopwatch registered that it was 19 seconds.
So 19 seconds had passed since you told her to begin counting to 30.
Yes, sir.
And what is that test even measuring?
So that test is measuring, it gives us an indicator on if there could be a possible drug on board, a stimulant or another type of drug.
And I guess I'm asking, how is this test, how does it measure if there's something else on board?
Just based off of the time, a DRE can go more in advanced with this because I will typically take notes and I will contact the DRE and let them know, hey, this is what I got on the lack of convergence, the Romberg modified, and then the finger to nose as well.
Okay. So let's talk about the finger to nose. What is that test?
So once again, I can.
Sure.
Okay. So what the finger to nose is, as I put them in the starting position, it's the same one as HGN, lack of convergence, and the Romberg modified. But essentially what it is I have them bring their feet together, I have them put their hands down by their sides. And then I tell them to make two fists with their hands, bring their hands up, stick their two pointer fingers out, and then bring their hands down. Next, what I tell them to do is when I tell you to begin, I'm gonna have you tilt your head backwards, close your eyes, and then whatever hand I give you, you're going to take the tip of your finger and touch the tip of your nose. Just to reiterate, and I apologize, I'm just kind of how I tell them. Just to reiterate, these are the tips of your fingers, these are the pads of your fingers. Tips, pads, and tip of your nose. So I'll tell them to tilt their head backwards, then when I give them a command, such as left, I want you to bring your left hand up, touch the tip of your nose with the tip of your finger, and then bring your hand right back down. If I tell you right, I want you to lift your right hand up, touch the tip of your finger to the tip of your nose, and bring your hand back down.
Okay. And how did she do on these tests, on this test?
I believe, do you have the
I think
FS?
you have the SOT form.
Mr. Nunez, you want to see if this form is up here that's still here?
I exactly can show anything in that form. His name is not on that form.
Hold on. Let Mr. Nunez talk a little bit here, unless you're going to go directly to a question about the form.
I'm going to go to question about the form. All right, so bringing it up.
With him reviewing it or not?
Yes.
Come on up, Mr. Litter. Come on up.
All right, so basically the objection is that he didn't fill out the form that he's going to use to refresh his recollection.
Yes.
In this form, traffic stop, he's more experienced.
He took part of it. He should have put his name on it too.
Or the foundation needs to be laid for the fact that he did part of the form, the other person did the other part of the form. Okay. So objection is sustained at this point.
So Deputy, during the SFTs, do you guys write a report? Or is there sorry, I'll use a different question. Is there a form that you guys usually fill out?
During the FSTs? Yes, sir, there is.
And did you fill one out in this case?
No, sir, I took all my notes on Deputy St. Gelay's FST sheet.
Is that common practice?
We have done it in the past, yes, sir, because there's another deputy already using that form. And so we will typically take notes instead of starting a brand new form.
And do you put your name at the bottom of that form?
No, sir.
So who puts their name on the bottom of that form?
The investigating deputy.
Okay. And in this instance, did you, remind me, you probably just said it, but did you help or did you add any information to the form that has Deputy St. Gelay's name on it?
Yes, sir.
And you're gonna make a approach?
Yes, you're okay with it now, Mr. Loader?
Yes.
Okay.
Would it help you to review the parts of it that you wrote on here to refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
And don't testify in the form that you may use for refresh your recollection. Turn it over when you're done
Okay.
reading it.
So as to the finger to nose test, how did she do?
She performed poorly during the test.
And what's your definition of performing poorly?
She did not touch her, for the finger to nose, she did not touch the tips of her finger to the tip of her nose.
Can you show me an example of, since you demonstrated it for us, of what a miss would be or what not performing to the test requirements?
Yeah. Is it okay if I get up?
Yes. No objection, Mr. Lowe?
No.
Okay.
So a miss for this test would be if she came up and going to the, with the pad of her finger to the tip of her nose, instead of doing the tip of her finger to the tip of her nose.
Okay. And while the defendant was performing these tests, the Romberg, the finger to nose, and the lack of convergence, are you observing any other bodily functions or behaviors that the defendant is displaying?
Yes, sir.
And did you notice any of those in this case?
Yes, sir. I noticed that her carotid pulse was pulsating, and that is right here in her neck. And then I also noted that her eyelids were tremoring as well.
And what is indicative of eyelid tremors?
It could be that there's a drug possibly in her system.
So it's just another sign and symptom of possible drugs within somebody's system.
Yes, sir.
All right, at this time, I'd like to show you a couple of videos from your body cam.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a video and then I'm going to ask you a couple questions after.
Okay.
Follow it up whereas
That's not the squat. Let me fast forward just a little bit.
going to require you any walking or anything like that. They're pretty simple, stupid, quick. Okay?
Thank you, that's, okay.
Okay. So, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take off your glasses and we can hold them for you. That's fine. You can do that, okay? So what I want you to do is when I tell you to begin, I want you to keep your hands and feet together, hands by your side, okay? When I tell you to, all right? I want you to tilt your head backwards, close your eyes, and think to the number 30.
Okay.
All right? When you think you reach to the number 30, open your eyes, tilt your head forward, and say done.
Okay, now how fast do you count me to 30? Because I mean, you can go to 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's-
1, 2,
It's up to you. You don't count out loud. You just think to the number 30. Once you think you got to the number 30, tilt your head forward, open your eyes, and say done.
Okay.
Okay? When I tell you to begin, all right?
Got it.
Okay, don't start.
I won't. You're the boss.
Okay,
I'll go when you tell me to begin.
just to reiterate, feet together, hands on by side, tilt head back, close eyes, and think to the number 30. When you think you got to it, open your eyes, tilt head forward, and tell me you're done. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. You ready? Begin. Okay. So that was the Romberg,
Yes, sir, that was the Romberg modified.
and that's the test in which you stated she got to 30 seconds, but she did it in 19.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm going to show you this next clip. This is going to be the finger to nose test. Again, I'm going to show you the clip, and then ask you a couple questions about it.
Excuse me, I didn't want to burp in your face. I apologize. All right, so make two fists like this. Bring your hands up. Two pointer fingers extended. Bring your hands down. Okay, when I tell you to, you're going to close your eyes, tilt your head back. Okay, and then I'm going to tell you a hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring that hand and touch the tip of your finger to the tip of your nose. Just to clarify, these are your tips of your fingers. These are the pads of your fingers, okay? So you're gonna bring the tip of your finger to the tip of your nose, okay? So for instance, if I tell you left, you're gonna bring your left hand up and touch the tip of your nose and bring your left hand down. If I tell you you're right, you're gonna bring your right hand up, touch the tip of your nose with the tip of your finger, and bring your hand back down, okay?
Okay.
So,
This is starting to get really cold out here. I'll say.
so what you're gonna do though, eyes closed, head back, okay? Any questions?
No.
All right. Left. Okay, bring your hand down. So just touch your tip to the nose and then bring your
Is
hand
that
down.
what you were reading? Tip your finger, tip your nose?
Right. Bring it down. Right. Bring your hand down. You just automatically bring it down.
Oh, just touch your thumb down. Okay.
Left.
Oh.
Right. Left. Okay. All right.
So what did you observe there?
So there I observed that she touched the pads of her fingers to the tip of her nose. And then that she also, when she brought her arms up to touch her nose, instead of bringing it right back down like I told her to, she held it and then brought it down. And she did that on multiple different occasions.
So you had to give her those directions a couple of times before.
Yes, sir.
And at this point, in your opinion, did it appear that she had shown signs and symptoms of impairment?
Yes, sir.
So after the SSTs were completed, then what took place?
After the FSTs were completed, I contacted the DRE
Why did you contact the DRE?
to give them the results. And then,
Is that something you normally do?
yes, sir.
And why is that?
Just to run the results by them, just to clarify.
Okay. And then you contacted the DRE?
Yeah, well, yeah, so we contacted the DRE, we advised her, of what we had, and then we asked if, I know we contacted the DRE, and I believe we asked, if she would consent to a DRE.
So you asked the defendant?
Yes,
Okay. And she said?
she said yes.
All right. At which point you guys did them up in a field, or what happened?
No, then we transported the defendant back here to the Yarnell substation where further testing was taking place.
Okay. And there was a blood draw done in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And who did the blood draw?
I did.
And how did do you have training in doing phlebotomy?
Yes, sir. I took a course that was given through Phoenix College, and that was ran by DPS.
Okay. And was there anything unusual about this blood draw?
During my first attempt at the blood draw, her vein rolled, and we had discussed earlier how she had rolling veins. So during the first attempt, her vein rolled, but I was able to get the blood on the second attempt.
Okay. And are you aware of the results of this case?
Yes.
Of the blood in this case?
Yes, sir.
And what are those results?
The blood came back positive for THC.
So once the blood draw was done, what happened? What was the next step in this process for the defendant?
I believe we also conducted a urine test at some point while we were up here at the Yarnell substation. We conducted a urine test, and then after that, I believe we did the DRE.
And you say we, so were you a part of that, or is it done by somebody totally different?
It's done by somebody totally different.
Okay. But you were in the room while it was being conducted?
I don't know if I was in the room exactly, because I was bouncing back and forth between outside and in the room, but I know I was present in the general location.
And I forgot to ask this a minute ago, but let me rewind to when you guys were on the side of the road. You heard the defendant say she was getting cold. I don't remember exact words, but she said it was pretty cold. What was the temperature, to your knowledge, that night?
Can I refer to the paper, because I believe I might have marked it down.
If it helps you refresh your recollection.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir, please refresh.
Okay.
So you remember the temperature at that time?
Yes, sir. It was 72 degrees outside.
But it was nighttime, and in your opinion, was it freezing?
No, sir. I believe I was in a short sleeve shirt.
No further question, John.
Mr. Loader.
Deputy Radford, did you prepare a report in this instance?
No, sir, I did not.
So you're remembering all of this almost a year ago, straight from memory?
No, sir, I watched the body cam.
So you watched the body cams,
Yes, sir, I did.
but you never completed a report.
No, sir, I did not.
You know how many times Deputy St. Gelay in his report says refer to your supplement?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Oh, could you repeat for me? I got
Withdraw the question.
okay. I don't even know what it was. I got distracted by the question over here. Go ahead, sir.
You're A-RIDE certified, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which means you can go a little bit further than the normal non-A-RIDE as far as those other couple of tests, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you say to someone, think to 30, what does that mean?
think to the number 30, and I apologize if that came off rude or sarcastic,
We
but
saw the video, you told her clearly, think to 30. What does that mean?
to think to the number 30.
Does that mean estimate 30 seconds, or does it mean think to 30? Are you timing her during this time?
Yes, sir. I was timing her on my stopwatch.
Then wouldn't that bring you to believe that you maybe should be telling people, estimate 30 seconds? Think to 30 means nothing. She even questioned it. How do you want me to count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1001, 1002. When you, as an A-Ride certified officer, tell someone think to 30, that's telling them nothing. Would you agree? Especially when your watch is right there and you're timing.
Okay.
That's not a clear instruction. When she did the finger to nose, you had her do it 3 times on the right, 3 times on the left, correct?
I believe so,
We
sir.
just watched the video, I need to show it again. You've got the sheet on in front of you, how many times did you mark off the sheet?
Can I
Go
look?
ahead and refer to it.
Yes, sir.
How many times did you touch, how many times did you mark on the nose diagram?
I marked on 5 times, sir.
But she actually did 6.
Yes, sir.
Did you say that you remembered or you don't remember doing a med talks? What is a med talks? Let me start that way. What is a med talks, kid?
Are you talking about the urine,
Yes.
sir?
Yes.
Okay, so the urine, it's a urine test where we have them pee in a cup, and it tells us if there's something in their system.
How? Is there swabs or changes color?
There's like a little tab that you can pull off, and then after some time, it will. I can't really fully describe how it shows, but it says that there's something in their system.
Do you remember looking at it?
The urine sample?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I believe I did.
What should we be looking for?
I'm gonna need video.
Oh, video. Yeah.
Go to Bradford County Substation. Just pause it right now. I just have it queued up so that we can get to the space. When you ask for a DRE, how much information do you give them before they do the test?
I let them know, typically I let them know what I got for the FSTs.
So FST results.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever discuss what substance you suspect?
It depends, sometimes.
Isn't that the DRE's job?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me that if a DRE goes into a test to perform and looks at a pre-test, that DRE's opinion is going to be a little bit skewed?
Objection, calls for speculation. You can't testify to what the DRE, which remarks.
You're an A-Ride certified.
Let's handle the objection first. Or did you have a reason to continue with it?
No, I'll reserve that question for later.
Okay, so objection sustained.
It's withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
Okay.
So do you want to try to do it again, or want me to keep being helpful? And just for the record, I'm helping Mr. Loader because the mouse is a little difficult.
Yeah, it's a little difficult for my elderly shaking hand. Let me ask you this. Did you show the med-tox results to Sergeant Ashby?
I do not recall if I did or did not.
36 minutes.
36 minutes. We're at the 337.
Yeah.
3505.
Yeah.
3539, am I close enough?
If you can get another 10 seconds. That's good. Bear with us while it touches up a little bit. Okay, I don't know if the jury could hear that. Could you, Deputy Radford?
When was the last time you saw
Barely, if you can rewind it a little bit, if you don't mind.
Morning, this afternoon.
Redacted St. Gerlais. And go to way down to 2 hours, 41 minutes.
No, this one's actually working correctly at the time.
Yeah, if you can go to 2:41:30.
Stay there for a second, we got a minute left.
Now, if we have to go 1 more minute,
Okay, 20 more seconds.
be about 20 more seconds. Folks. What are you showing, Deputy? What are you showing, Sergeant Ashby up there in the corner?
Could not tell you, sir. I do not recall.
You do not recall what you have in your hand?
I mean, I know what I have in my hand, but what I'm actually showing her, I don't know.
When was the last time you smoked marijuana?
Okay, stop it.
This morning,
We
this
go
afternoon.
back again.
2.
About 2:41:34.
Okay, I'll be a few seconds for this. It's at 226, it's 26 right now, so 10 seconds.
Okay.
Turn it up.
Turn it up as high as it'll go and pause it right now. Okay, we just missed it. Did you hear what you said to Sergeant Ashby?
No, sir, I'm not trying to be rude or.
No, I understand. It's very hard to hear.
Do you mind if
Try
I
it
get?
one more again?
Do you mind if I get up and put my ear to?
Absolutely not. Please do.
We're at 24125.
Okay, did you get that time?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you say, Sergeant Ashby?
I believe I told her that it was extremely faint.
In other words, very poor reading. What does extremely faint mean when you're looking at something in your hand?
So it just means that there's a line that could be like on the verge of fainting, like extremely, like I know what I mean when I'm explaining it.
Well, what are you showing her in explaining that it's extremely faint?
So I believe I'm talking about possibly a line on the urine sample that's extremely faint.
That indicated what?
Oh, that part I couldn't tell you. I didn't hear what I said right before that.
Okay. Well, you can't remember?
No, sir.
Does HGN, it shows impairment, but there are signs how do I want to phrase this? Will HGN show any presence of possible marijuana?
No, sir.
It's strictly what?
HGN shows a lot of different things. So, and that's something that a DRE can explain to you on what exactly all it can show.
Fair enough. I have no further questions to this witness tonight.
Mr. Nunez.
Hey, Judge. Deputy Radford, you're human, right? You're human, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
You make mistakes?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider not writing a supplemental report in this case a mistake?
Yes, sir.
Is that a mistake you're going to make again?
No, sir.
Defense talks about thinking to 30. The Romberg modified test, is that just a test you made up?
No, sir.
Where'd that test come from?
So that test, we were taught that test at A-RIDE, and then we were taught it again at, once again, I'm going to mess up the name of it, and I apologize, but I believe it's called HIDUS. It's a relatively new course as a, it's an in-between A-RIDE and DRE.
So it's like a stepping stone above
Yeah.
to get to another level.
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, do you know where these tests have come from?
No, sir.
But you do know that they are standardized tests accepted nationwide.
When you get trained on them through A-RIDE, yes, sir.
And to the urine test, I could hear you say faint. I don't know if you were talking about what it was, but you mentioned faint line.
Yes, sir.
So for any line to show faint or dark, what does that mean?
So, and excuse me, because I have not done a urine test in quite some time, so I apologize. But honestly, if you have like the picture of it, because I believe I might have taken a photograph of it. If you have the picture, I can describe exactly what I was probably talking about.
I do not, and I don't need you to describe what you're talking about. I'm just asking, with those urine tests or MedTox tests, what does that line indicate? What is the test used for?
So the test is used for determining, or it's used to show what is in somebody's system, whether that be a certain opioid, THC. It could be a number of different things that a MedTox kit can show.
Okay. So if somebody without any kind of substances in their body were to use it, it would be negative.
Yes, sir.
Presumably. And in the video that was played for you, did you hear the defendant make any statements about using marijuana?
Yes, sir, at the very end.
And what did she say?
I believe she said she smoked that morning, and then she was going to continue to say something else before the video got paused, I believe.
And during your entire investigation, has she told you that she used marijuana?
No, sir.
Did you ask her if she used any drugs?
I believe we did earlier in the stop.
Thank you.
So if the jury has any questions, if you could take the time to write those down, the bailiff will collect those. And would you like to come up and review with me, please? No, yeah, there's two. So here's the first. They're fairly straightforward.
So I guess my question is the person that asked the question of. So that's going to go back to, I think, these also, to here. One or two. I think that's number yeah, now I was kind of getting, is it a legal question or is it a witness question? I mean, if the answer, if it's a correct answer by MP, there is no basis for that. If you, I'll ask him if you guys want to ask. I just, yeah, so we're just asking this one here, not this one, and not this one. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so do we have, like, one other question? There's three questions from the jurors. We were going to ask one of them at this time. Do blood test results show amount of THC in blood or just positive or negative result?
So does it show the amount? Is that
Does the blood test results show the amount of the THC in the blood or just a positive, negative result?
okay? So short answer is yes. We send off the blood to the DPS labs, and the DPS labs will send us a report back, and it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. It really depends on how backed up they are. But when we get that report back, it does show us a certain content that can be in the blood, yes.
Before we allow the deputy to sit down, are there any more questions from the jury? Okay. Go ahead, sir. Come on up, Mr. Nunez. I think the question from the jury is supposed to be like kind of a discrete thing that we can't. I don't think anything's discrete in this building. Should I share with them the basis why we didn't ask the other ones? Should we share the basis of why we didn't ask the other ones?
I don't want to confuse them in some case.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was teetering on there. Okay, so this kind of, I think this goes back to that same question we had before. Okay. Okay, so we don't, at this point, we don't have any questions that we're going to ask of this witness. Are there any further questions prior to letting the witness step down? Okay, seeing none, sir, you may step down. Mr. Nunez, would you like him to garner another witness for you?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the state would like to call Sergeant Ashby.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please have a seat. Go ahead and state your name and spell your last for me, please.
My name is Deanne Ashby, Ashby.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Deputy, or Sergeant, I'm sorry. Who are you employed by?
Yeah, Pike County Sheriff's Office.
And can you tell me how long you've been with the department?
I've been with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office for 20 years.
And can you explain some of your training experience?
I started out as a detention officer. I went to the detention academy 20 years ago. And then in 2004, I went to the Northern Arizona Regional Training Academy in Prescott Valley. And then in 2007, I became a DRE, or a drug recognition expert. And I had let that lapse for a little bit, but I missed doing DUI investigations. So last year in 2022, I got my DRE back.
And what is a drug recognition expert?
So we go through about a 2-week training course that teaches us to recognize, excuse me, to recognize when somebody is impaired by a drug, and then to be able to categorize which drug that they could possibly be impaired by.
Do you need some water?
Oh, yes, thank you.
While we're on that, does anybody else need water? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
So you're trained to detect different types of drugs within somebody's body.
Yes.
And what is this based on?
So it's based on several different things. We look at clinical indicators, we look at physical indicators, just an array of different things. And then we take the totality of our entire experience with the DRE to make a determination.
And this DRE training, is this just based on something from Yavapai County?
No, this is a nationwide accepted program.
And are there different studies that kind of support the DRE program?
Yes.
Do you know any of those studies?
Not right off the top of my head, I don't. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And can you discuss the notion of divided judgment?
So divided judgment, we do divided attention tests to see if somebody can make proper decisions or react based on the tests that we're putting them through.
And my apologies, I misspoke, it's divided attention. Not
Yes.
divided judgment. Sorry,
Yes.
I kind of threw you off.
It's okay.
And is driving a task that would require divided attention?
Yes, it is.
And can you explain the effects of THC, or the active component of marijuana, in the human body?
Can you be a little more specific? I'm sorry.
What does it do to somebody?
Depending on the amount in their system or at what point that they're at on the spectrum, it could definitely impair their ability to drive.
So it is an impairing substance?
Yes.
And how so?
In a lot of ways, it delays their reactions, their judgment, just in what they see is impaired, and yeah, it makes their ability to drive safely lower.
And in Arizona, is there a set limit on what is impaired?
No, there is not.
So it's not like alcohol where everybody knows there's a certain amount and everybody's deemed impaired, right?
That's correct.
And that's not the case with marijuana.
That's correct. There is no set limit.
And why is that, do you know?
Because everybody is a little bit different, and everybody's body reacts to substances differently. And so what one person using marijuana, what an amount may be different for one person than it is for another person, depending on their size, their age, their body metabolism. So everybody's different.
What about frequency?
Yes, frequency can play a part in it as well.
And are the eyes, when it comes to impairment from marijuana, are the eyes an important factor?
They can be, but they don't determine impairment. That just gives us an idea It's a clinical indicator as to whether or not somebody may or may not be using a certain drug.
And we heard earlier, you weren't in here, but we heard another deputy testify that lack of convergence, when someone goes cross-sighted, that can be an indicator or a sign or symptom of marijuana.
Yes, it can be.
So how did you get involved in this case?
So Deputy Radford had called me. I was off duty, and he had called me to let me know that that they had a case, and he walked me through the traffic stop, the FSTs, and then he told me that they had done a PBT on the individual, and she came back 000s.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What's a PBT?
So it's a portable breath tester, and it's designed to test breath alcohol level out on the scene.
Okay. So that came back as 0.
Yes.
Okay. And so then what happened? He explained to you the FSTs, the 0 PBT, and then what?
So based on what he told me, it would indicate that there was possibility impairment due to drugs. And so he asked if I would come out to do a drug recognition evaluation on the subject.
Did he say why he had that opinion?
Because based on the FSTs, she did poorly on the FSTs, and she was 000s. It would indicate that there's no alcohol on board. And being a drug recognition expert, I'm trained to see more than the average deputy when it comes to impairment.
And this extra step in using you, yourself, the DRE, could it be used for the benefit of the defendant?
Yes, actually it could.
And how's that?
So just as an example, I did a DRE for a deputy a couple years back in which he explained to me, you know, the FSTs, the person did poorly, blew 000s, so there was no alcohol on board. I went and did the DRE, and I was able to determine that the person was actually had a medical condition that would cause the things that they were seeing. So it's my job as a drug recognition expert to determine whether or not it's a drug or if it's due to a medical condition.
Which is important, right?
Yes,
So you're not just a rubber stamp. As soon as you show up, they're like, oh, case done, correct?
that's correct.
So they get back here to the station, you arrive, and then tell me what took place.
Basically, I print out my drug recognition evaluation, and then I just go through it, you know, systematically. And I start with an interview, and then I do a divided attention test, and then I do some clinical indicators, and then we wrap up with a blood and urine analysis.
Okay. And just so we're sure, if you do have your report, you turn it over.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And see if we can get it.
Yeah.
So, how did the defendant's testing go when you guys were in here?
There was definitely impairment with the divided attention test.
Okay. And so you say definite, that means, it sounds like you're pretty positive. Like you're pretty confirmed in your opinion.
Yes.
That's what you observed.
Yes.
How can you be so sure?
Well, I can go over the divided attention test individually with you if you let me look at my report or my FST sheet or DRE sheet.
If you need to refresh your recollection, unless the defense has an objection.
One question at a time, if she needs to
Okay,
reflect on one test, then.
that's fine. So during your DRE test in here, what test do you go through?
So we do the Romberg modified test, and then before we do that, we look at their eyes, and so we're looking at lack of convergence, HGN. Then we do Romberg modified, we do walk and turn, we do the one leg stand, we do the finger to nose. So
these are all tests that she had already done before, correct?
not all of them. I don't remember exactly which tests that she did roadside, but I know that the standardized ones are HGN, walk and turn, and one leg stand. I don't recall which tests he told me they did on roadside.
Okay. And what did you see with HGN?
I did not see any HGN at all.
And is that typical of somebody under the influence or impaired or showing signs and symptoms of marijuana use?
Yes.
What about lack of convergence?
Lack of convergence, I did not see lack of convergence with her. But it can be a clue, but it's not always the case.
And then what was the next step after you looked at the eyes? Or did you notice anything in particular about the eyes when you were?
They were bloodshot, watery, and then one of the other things that we have them do is we have them pull their eyelids down, and she had the I can't even say it.
You said it better.
Yes, so that was present.
So we're going to make sure that he's asking questions and she's giving answers and nobody else in the room is talking. Thank you.
So you noticed conjunctivitis or something?
Yes.
Okay. And what is that? I don't know if that is, but I can't say either.
Well, the conjunctivitis, sorry, I apologize. That is generally due to marijuana use. Bloodshot watery eyes can be an array of drugs.
So I'm still stuck on the conjunctive thing. Can you kind of describe it to me so I have a good picture in my mind of what?
So when we look at the inside of their eyelids, it's normally a light pink color. With this, it's darker red. And so it's pretty obvious. It's a much darker color.
So after your observations of her eyes, then what you did?
I believe it was the Romberg modified.
Okay, and how'd she do on that?
I'd have to look at my
You need to
sheet.
refresh your recollection.
You're okay with that, Mr. Loder, one at a time? Go ahead, ma'am. Turn it back over when you're done.
So,
And then just flip it over when you're ready to talk.
oh, okay. All right. So with the Romberg modified, she estimated 30 seconds and 29 seconds, which is within the normal range. But I noted that she was swaying from front to back about an inch.
And what does this swaying indicate?
It's just when somebody is impaired by something or they've been using a substance, it's harder for them to stand up straight without losing their balance.
So it's another sign or something?
Yes.
And then after the Romberg, what test did you do?
The walk and turn.
And how did she perform on that?
Can I look at my report to?
Yeah. And then when you're done, flip it back over.
Okay. Okay. So with the walk and turn, the only thing that I noted with that was that she started the test before she was instructed to do so, which is an indicator that somebody can be impaired by something.
Yeah, at the beginning of our conversation right now, you were pretty adamant that she was impaired.
Yes.
So explain to me why you thought that.
Based on all of the testing that I did, she had poor balance and was uncoordinated. And that's a big clue that somebody is impaired.
And are you familiar with the DUI to the slightest?
Yes.
And that is impaired to the slightest, correct?
Yes.
And comparing to the slightest could be an impairment of the eyes, correct?
Well, eyes themselves are not an impairment.
The inability to use your eyes as we were designed to use our eyes.
Yes.
The swaying, all the signs and symptoms could show impairment to the slightest, correct?
Yes.
No question, Jim.
Is he done?
Yes. Just to clarify, you are done, correct, Mr. Nunez?
For now.
Yes, Mr. Lutter.
Let's get the wrong word modified way.
Okay.
What do you tell a person to do the wrong word modified?
What do you mean, what do I tell them? You
How do
mean,
you explain what you want them to do?
I can give you the directions how I would give them.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, it's easier for me if I do it while I'm standing up because I demonstrate while I'm giving the directions.
That's fine.
Okay. So I explained to somebody with the wrong word modified that I need them to stand with their feet together, toe to toe, heel to heel, their hands next to their side. When I asked, it's a little bit more difficult when I'm given, so do you mind if I just give the directions?
ahead, sure.
It's just a little bit easier, it makes more sense to me, so. I need you to stand with your feet together, toe to toe, heel to heel, keep your hands next to your side until I tell you to do otherwise. When I tell you to, I need you to tilt your head back and close your eyes. When I tell you to begin, I want you to estimate the passage of 30 seconds. When you think 30 seconds has gone by, I need you to open your eyes, tilt your head forward, and say stop. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And then I would proceed to go ahead and have them tilt their head back and close your eyes and complete the test.
Thank you. And I believe you said she did 29 seconds.
Yes.
Is it standard or proper, in your opinion, for a DRE to know the results of a med-tox kit test before they reach their opinion?
We don't.
You don't what?
So we finish all of the tests before we look at the med-tox results. We don't ever look at the med-tox results before we've completed our tests.
Had you formed an opinion before you looked at the med-tox results?
No.
Okay, so you haven't come to that conclusion yet.
Sometimes we take a little bit of time to review because our DRE is based on a totality of the experience, not just one thing, one or two things. So we look at everything, and sometimes it's good to take a little bit of extra time and look over the entire thing before we form an opinion.
Okay, so you take some time after the med-tox test and everything else to form an opinion.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Like to look at the video. Redacted signature lay. Pretty much what we were last time.
Maybe it's still there. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, can I get
24130.
Give me a second to get there.
241.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Is that you up in the corner with Deputy Radford?
Yes.
What are you doing?
I'm looking at something. I can't tell what it is that he's showing me.
When was the last time you smoked marijuana?
Okay. Stop. What was that you just asked?
I asked her when the last time she smoked marijuana.
And that was after you were looking at the thing that Deputy Radford showed you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And does it come back now what he showed you?
It looks like a cell phone. I can't tell.
But what was on the cell phone?
I don't know.
So you don't know, but right after that, you asked her what's the last time you smoked marijuana.
That's an answer, Your Honor.
I don't recall what he showed me on the phone.
Hold on, don't answer until we.
Okay,
we
sorry.
the objection. And last time, Mr. Lutter,
It was asked and answered, but we're gonna, one more time. So we'll take the answer from the sergeant.
All right. Let's go to 242:45. It's pretty close to this.
Ready to go back some more.
That'll do. Or actually go back maybe another 10 seconds.
And that's 242:35.
242:45.
Okay, we're gonna wait 10 seconds because I don't have a 10-second forward.
So, secure case, right?
Okay, what did we just see there?
I couldn't hear what I said.
I didn't ask what you said, what did we see?
I was getting ready to walk outside
To do what?
to talk to one of the deputies.
Okay. Do you remember which one?
I don't recall, but I think it was Deputy St. Delay. I believe I was telling him that I needed to do some review, but that I definitely had impairment and that he needed to write her a citation.
And that's the conversation that took place outside?
Part of it, I don't recall entirely.
Okay. Let's go to Bradford Test and Substation. Should be easier than this time. 3719.
36:47, so I'm doing that. Okay, 136, okay. Start.
36 or 37.
We're
That's 36:47 is fine.
Okay. Well, it's 30 seconds out of that.
I think it was more, I was really annoyed because we were just going up to the store real quick to get soda and ice, and the food was at it's cooking, at home. And then we're waiting, and it felt like a very long time.
Let me see the. Say, go back to the menu. Please.
Yes. Let's figure out how to get that open.
Okay. Further down, Radford Testing and Substation. Right there. No, the one below. Down 2.
Oh, thank you. And what time?
3719. Actually, let's go to 3609.
Okay, you're 10 seconds before.
Okay. Did you hear what Deputy Radford?
I could hear him say extremely faint, but I don't know what
You don't
that
know what he
was.
was talking
I don't know which
Okay.
line he was talking about.
Go ahead, let it just.
When was the last time you smoked marijuana?
This morning, this afternoon, before I left.
So I just asked you if you were on any medications or drugs.
It's not like a medication or a drug.
Marijuana's a drug. Maybe legal, but it's still a drug. So. Well, based on everything that I have, you're telling me I have nothing. So, her heart rate's normal. The only thing that I got on FSCs. That could just be, just might not be able to do that. That's the only test.
Do you know what you said there?
Well, initially I said I didn't have anything. And I started looking at my FST or my DRE sheet more closely. And what isn't on there is that I had actually called Sergeant Lewis, who is a DRE instructor, and I went over my DRE sheet with him, and he said, you do have what you need there.
When
So,
did you call him?
it was after that conversation, I just don't remember exactly when.
Was it after the arrest was over and they were gone?
I don't recall.
Well, let's watch the video then. Please.
So, secure case, right?
Yeah. Here's where you're taking Sergeant Lane. Outside, correct?
Yes.
We can go to 4111.
And you don't need to say please to me to start your video.
I don't want to sound like I'm ordering you around.
Well, okay. Okay, so, okay, one more time. Okay, are you ready?
Yes. And you would agree this is you coming back in with Sergeant Gillette, Saint Gillette, sorry, correct?
Yes.
And if that was at 4111, would you agree the conversation took approximately 4 minutes?
Roughly, yes.
All right. Now let's go to 4925.
Is it 43, sorry, I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to do the 30 seconds here. Okay, just 25 seconds. So we get it's at 49 to 5 there.
I need your PVC number.
Okay.
So basically, you've got THC in your system, and based on what they saw out in the field with their FSCs, they saw impairment out in the field, so we're gonna cite and release you for DUI.
Okay, beautiful.
So,
What did you just say?
based on what they saw out in the field, and that she had THC in her system, that we were going to cite and release her.
What do you base the fact that she had THC in her system?
Well, I had seen the MedTox results after I had completed my,
Does the MedTox test for THC or cannabis, or do you know?
it tests for THC.
Okay. Now, this is, finish your content, and let me see how much is left.
There's a minute 39 left.
We don't need to. That ended your, pretty much your conversation and your contact with Ms. Bell, correct?
Somewhere close to there, yes. My DRE was already complete, as far as completing all of the tests and asking my questions.
All right, and then she was cited and released, and then you made a phone call to another expert
Yes,
after she was already arrested and gone.
yes. I had told Deputy St. Gelais that I observed impairment and that he needed to cite and release her. I also wanted to consult with Sergeant Lewis because he's a DRE instructor and go over my results with him.
Okay, may I approach with, drug testing?
In theory?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's up there.
I see.
May I approach with plaintiff's exhibit 6?
Okay, it was a stipulated exhibit at the beginning of the trial. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Sergeant, would you take a look at that and tell me what it is?
This is a examination report from DPS from the blood sample that Deputy Radford got from Miss Bell.
And it doesn't have a quantifiable number?
Yes, it does.
What is that number?
It is 12 plus or minus 3 nanograms.
12 plus or minus 3 nanograms.
Yes,
Are you familiar with how far up the machine DPS uses goes as far as nanograms?
I don't. I'm not a DPS criminalist.
So you don't know whether that's a high number or a low number?
Well, I have an idea from based on my experience.
Well, I can ask you then, what's based on your experience?
Based on my experience, anybody that has 5 nanograms or more is easily impaired.
If I were to tell you that the DPS criminalist machine goes up to 100 nanograms, would you have any issue with that statement?
No,
So a range would be from 0 to 100 nanograms. In your experience, 12 plus or minus 3 is impaired.
based on my experience, yes, sir.
Once.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
1 second, please.
As you're taking that, we will be taking a break shortly, just to let the jurors know that.
No further questions.
Mr. Nunez, when you're ready.
Thank you, Judge. I'll try to keep it brief, everybody take a quick break as well. Sergeant Ashby, how long since Debbie Radford's phone call to you when they were on the roadside until you met them at the station?
Oh, gosh, I'd have to refer back to the reports to know exactly when the stop was and when my evaluation started, because I don't recall.
But to the best of your knowledge, it wasn't like 5 minutes after?
Oh, gosh, no, because I live an hour away.
Okay.
And they were probably on roadside at least, waiting for the tow and stuff for probably about an hour. So it was probably well over 2 hours. From the time she was stopped until I started my DRE, roughly, yeah.
So sometime went down by.
Yeah.
And again, in order to make your call, your DRE call, you take in the weight of everything that happened, right?
Yes.
And is that just of your observations, or is that of the observations of Deputy St. Julie, Deputy Radford, as well as your phone call to Sergeant Lewis?
It's everything. So their observations at the time of the stop and all the way up until I talked to Sergeant Lewis.
And is it typical for you to reach out to a DRE instructor?
Sometimes, because sometimes some of the things that we see, we just want clarification. Sometimes it's good to just get a second opinion about what we're seeing.
So two heads is better than one is something you subscribe to?
Yes,
And that's what you did in this instance?
yes,
And just to clarify, you did instruct, as a superior officer, Deputy St. Julie, to cite the defendant?
yes, I did that night.
Do you ever just cite somebody just because?
No,
There has to be articulable facts or a basis for you to make that type of recommendation, right?
yes,
And in the video, you asked the defendant, just pretty bluntly, had she smoked marijuana, or when the last time she had smoked marijuana was, correct?
yes.
Do you remember her response?